Every NFL team from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are selecting number 1 overall in this year's NFL draft, to the Los Angeles Rams, who won the Super Bowl, all have the same idea and same goal in mind when they show up for OTAs over the summer, and that is to win a Super Bowl. Groundbreaking information, I know, but how each team gets to their said Super Bowl or the paths teams take in trying to get one is going to be the subject of today's video, and more specifically the concerns I have with a few NFL franchises and the routes they are currently going. This is a bit of a deep dive into these franchises, and I can't wait to share, so without further ado, let's begin. The first major concern, and concern may not be the right word here as much as it is eyebrow I raise and have with the team, is the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. Joe had a terrific second season and had 34 touchdowns after having his rookie season prematurely ended due to a torn ACL. This one is pretty obvious, but the concern I have with them is how much Joe gets hit, and routinely at that. The 9-sack game against the Titans, despite the Bengals winning and Joe making a great throw to Jamar Chase with the game on the line, was pretty telling. Just think for a second if the Bengals season ended there, how much scrutiny they'd be under for damn near killing their second-year quarterback, but Joe and the gang ultimately won in Nashville and then the following week in Kansas City. And that's not to take away from their team's success as much as it is to acknowledge, like, holy shit, they have to do something, even if it is kind of a half-court last-second shot to protect Joe. He has been sacked 102 times in 30 career starts, which is an enormous amount, and while we are all fixated on the 9-sack game against the Titans, because that's obviously an insane amount, he was sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl and 19 times throughout the postseason, which of course was just 4 games. And I don't want to imply or suggest Joe is soft, because that's not what I'm going for here, but what I am saying is you can't have the face of your city take these hits time after time after time and just think, oh, well, he's Joe Burrow, he's good, he'll overcome the adversity, it's kind of what he's known for, he's good, he's got it. Obviously, we haven't had an offseason yet to see how the Bengals address this known problem, but another thing I think is inevitable with the Bengals is not necessarily the downfall of Joe Burrow, because I do believe he is a great quarterback, but more so the downfall of other players who clearly stepped up when they needed them to. And obviously Joe and Jamar get a lot of credit for their postseason success, and rightfully so, but in a lot of ways it was the rise of other players you would not expect, those X factors. So due to all of this, I think it's inevitable the Bengals take a slight step back in 2022. And if I were them, I would be calling about every offensive lineman around the league that is remotely decent and seeing what their cost would be, and if they could pull off some sort of trade like the Chiefs and Ravens did with the pick swap of the late second round pick for their 31st overall pick like the Chiefs and Ravens did, and it worked out for both teams given the Chiefs got Orlando Brown and the Ravens have what they think is their edge of the future in Odafe Oweh. I will be monitoring how much Joe Burrow gets hit next year, due in large part to the 102 sacks he's taken in just 30 career games. This next one may be surprising, and it's a lot to digest, and in some ways a bit of a taboo subject, so buckle up, but it is the long-term plan for Jonathan Taylor. JT had 332 carries this year and an additional 40 catches out of the backfield, putting him at 372 total times he touched the ball in 2021. That number was 268 in his rookie year in 2020, and if you did not know, Jonathan Taylor received the ball a lot at Wisconsin, and the Badgers' game plan nearly every week from 2017 through 2019 was give the ball to Jonathan Taylor and get out of the way, and it worked. A lot. He left Wisconsin as the 6th all-time leading rusher and finished his collegiate career with over 6,000 rushing yards, and since turning professional has started his career off with back-to-back 1,000-yard years and has double-digit touchdowns in each of those seasons. His production is off the charts, and I congratulate him on the success he's had on the field because, again, it is nothing short of impressive. And even in his final year of high school, he rushed for over 2,800 yards and 35 rushing touchdowns. Jonathan is just 23 years old, and at some point, those legs are going to either tire out, give out, or a combination of the two. And it does not help when your quarterback play isn't great or expected to be great for the next couple of years to try and relieve some of that workload from Jonathan. And if you want to say Carson Wentz was good because of a 27-7 TD to INT ratio, I don't expect many people to say that he's good, but I would counter with this. There's a reason he's involved in trade discussions routinely, and a reason why the Colts are looking to move on from him and have buyers regret just a year after acquiring him from the Eagles. The Colts aren't a bad football team, and them smoking a team like the Bills in Western New York by 26 points can be just one of many confirmations of that. Another could be a double-digit win on the road in San Francisco, or a double-digit win against the Patriots at home. Sure, they, like every other team, has their downfalls, and we have the Jags game in Week 18 to show that. The Bills also lost to Jacksonville for that matter. But within this Super Bowl window they're in, with guys like Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, and Jonathan Taylor, of course, my biggest fear is they're just going to run JT until there's no more. And another fear I have for them is they'll have to, in a sense, if he hasn't had some sort of injury at this point, pay him the top dollar he will rightfully earn when he's due for a contract extension. But this 350 plus touch year cannot happen every single year if they want Jonathan Taylor to be on this team and to carry this franchise for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. Now, to add on to something I previously said, I hope Jonathan makes a lot of money, and I hope he gets compensated for his production, because he should. Unfortunately for the Colts, though, it's seemingly becoming a trend where you pay a running back top dollar, as in over $10 million per year, and then they get hurt due in some part to taking a beating, or you could refer to it as generally what happens when 220-pound men run full speed at each other. Injuries will naturally happen in the NFL, and if they either do not make a trade for a big-name quarterback, again, I realize they don't have a first-round pick this year, or go this route of drafting another running back in the top 3 or 4 rounds to pair with Jonathan, I fear his career will be over long before it should. Because Jonathan, at 23 years old, has now had 6 straight falls of a lot of workload on those legs, which is, at this point, over a quarter of his life. Again, I wish him the best, but I fear that this run-into-the-ground mentality will catch up with Indy at some point. I have said this before, that if Indy gets into the playoffs, they will be a very tough out for anyone, and I stand by that, because teams generally do not want to get into the nitty-gritty of the trenches and try and stop a team, well, an offense more so, led by Quentin Nelson at guard and Jonathan Taylor at running back. Indy needs to either draft a running back fairly high this year for what we would expect them to, or to make an absolute splash with what they can and trade for a big quarterback before it is too late. The next red flag I have with a couple of NFL teams is how they are building the supporting casts around their young quarterbacks, and this mostly applies to the Jags and Bears, though in some ways can apply to the Jets as well. The Jags' 2021 season was truly one of the worst we've seen in a while from any NFL franchise. The on-the-field results were horrible. Their once-in-a-decade quarterback prospect threw 17 interceptions to just 12 touchdown passes. Their head coach was out of bars while the team flew back, and it was just distraction after distraction. The Jags are now expected to take tackle Evan Neal with the first overall pick, but after this, and of course within free agency, they'll have to bring in receiver after receiver after receiver to try and work out a deal. Chris Godwin is a free agent but is coming off of a torn ACL. Both Juju Smith-Schuster and Allen Robinson are free agents as well, and even if you have to overpay for their services right now, you do it because you have the cap room. You have to go all in now while Trevor is on the rookie deal, because very quickly, with how bad the Jags are relative to just even bad teams, you're looking at the 3rd or 4th year of Trevor's rookie deal when you're maybe ready to compete, and by then he's looking for a contract extension similar to what we have with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes now. All of the concepts apply to the Bears as well, but what's even worse for them is they don't have a first-round pick this year because they traded it last year to acquire Justin Fields. Now, I am worried for both of these quarterbacks that both of them will get ruined over things they simply cannot control. And we were certainly spoiled in 2020 with Justin Herbert and how he reset the expectations for rookie quarterbacks moving forward, and for future rookies who would compare themselves to what he did in his rookie season, and especially Trevor, who was viewed far and away as a superior prospect to Justin Herbert when he came out of the University of Oregon. But both Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields' rookie seasons, again for several reasons out of their control, were not even close. And it's a legitimate question right now, will the Jags and Bears ruin their quarterback prospects, who are each the best young players their franchises have had in a while? The Jets are in some aspects exempt from this because I do believe they'll draft Ike Ekwonu with their 4th overall pick, then draft someone like a Trey McBride, a tight end from Colorado State, at the top of the 2nd round, which to me at least is very promising along with what they already have. Though I want it to be clear, if they don't, then everything else that we said about the Jags and the Bears applies to them just as much. Now, with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I kind of rambled about a lot of teams' problems and potential problems down the road in today's video. It was a little different than normal, but I do hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because it would truly mean the world. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.